From murderous Plymouths that were never actually read to twin pranks that fooled directors, the making of Christine is as bizarre as the killer car itself. Stephen King's odometer sparked a nightmare, stuntmen drove blind through flames, and one vegetarian actress secretly refused to bite a burger. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about Christine's 1958 Plymouth Fury. Fact 1. Real 1958 Furies were never read. When most people picture Christine, they see a gleaming blood-red Plymouth Fury with menacing chrome details and an unforgettable presence on screen. That iconic crimson color has become inseparable from the character, burned into the collective memory of horror fans everywhere. But here's the twist that even die-hard fans might not know. The 1958 Plymouth Fury never came in red from the factory, not even close. In 1958, Plymouth produced only 5,303 Fury models, making it an extremely exclusive and rare vehicle even before Christine made it infamous. Every single one of those Furies rolled off the assembly line in one color combination only: sandstone white exterior with a buckskin beige interior. There were no other options available. The Fury was positioned as Plymouth's top-of-the-line luxury sport coupe, and the company decided that this elegant cream and tan color scheme best represented the sophistication they wanted to convey. Red simply wasn't part of the equation. So when John Carpenter's film production needed to create Christine, they had to completely fabricate her signature look. The blood-red paint job that makes Christine so visually striking and symbolically perfect for a killer car was entirely invented for the movie. It's a brilliant creative choice that works perfectly for the story, giving Christine an aggressive, almost predatory appearance that white simply couldn't match. The red makes her look dangerous, seductive, and unmistakably evil. This means every time you see Christine prowling the streets in her menacing red finish, you're actually watching automotive fiction. The real 1958 Furies were refined, pale-colored luxury vehicles that looked nothing like the crimson monster that Stephen King and Hollywood created. Sometimes the best icons are built on beautiful lies. Fact 2. Stephen King's odometer moment inspired the story. Stephen King has written countless nightmares into existence, but Christine's origin story is surprisingly simple and relatable. The entire concept of a killer car that grows younger instead of older came from a single mundane moment that could happen to anyone during a daily commute. King was driving one day when he glanced down at his dashboard and watched his odometer roll over from 9,999.9 miles to 10,000 miles. Exactly. It's the kind of small, satisfying moment most drivers experience, watching those numbers flip over in perfect sequence. But King's mind doesn't work like most people's minds. Instead of just appreciating the milestone, he immediately started wondering what would happen if the process worked in reverse. What if a car's odometer could run backwards instead of forwards? What if a vehicle could literally undo its age, its damage, its history? That single thought became the seed for Christine's most disturbing ability, her power to regenerate, to heal herself, to reverse time, and become new again, no matter how much destruction she endures. This regeneration concept became central to both the novel and the film, creating some of the most memorable and unsettling scenes in the story. Every time Christine crumples from a crash or gets smashed by vengeful teenagers, she simply rebuilds herself, her odometer spinning backwards as dents pop out and broken glass reassembles. It's a violation of natural law that makes Christine feel truly supernatural and unstoppable. The fact that this terrifying concept came from something as ordinary as watching a car odometer change is quintessential Stephen King. He has an extraordinary gift for taking everyday observations and twisting them into horror. A simple dashboard moment during a regular drive became the foundation for one of his most iconic evil characters, proving that nightmares can be born from the most unremarkable experiences. Fact 3. Christine's evil origin. Changed from book to film, one of the most significant differences between Stephen King's novel and John Carpenter's film adaptation involves a fundamental question: where does Christine's evil actually come from? The answer changes dramatically depending on whether you're reading the book or watching the movie, and this shift completely alters the nature of Christine's malevolence. In King's original novel, Christine isn't inherently evil at all. Instead, she becomes possessed by the malicious spirit of her previous owner, a nasty old man named Roland D. LeBay. LeBay is thoroughly unpleasant in life, and after his death, his angry, hateful spirit inhabits the car, using it as a vessel to continue spreading misery and destruction. The novel provides extensive backstory about LeBay's horrible personality and how his essence corrupts the vehicle. But John Carpenter made a deliberate choice to abandon this supernatural possession angle entirely. In the film, Christine is simply born bad. The very first scene shows her on the assembly line at the factory, and even there, before anyone has owned her or driven her, Christine is already dangerous. A factory worker carelessly drops a cigarette ash on her pristine seat, and she viciously slams her hood down on another worker's hand in apparent retaliation. There's no ghost, no possession, no external evil force. Christine herself is the source of the malevolence. This change makes Christine far more unsettling in some ways. A possessed car can theoretically be exorcised or freed from the spirit controlling it, but a car that's evil from the moment of creation? That's something entirely different. It suggests that evil can exist without reason, without origin, without any possibility of redemption. Carpenter's Christine doesn't need Roland LeBay's angry ghost because she has her own murderous personality. She's a factory defect of the most horrifying kind, making her less like a haunted object and more like a mechanical predator with chrome teeth. Fact 4. Twin sister prank director made it into Final Cut. Behind-the-scenes pranks are common in Hollywood, but Alexandra Paul and her identical twin sister Caroline pulled off one of the most audacious and successful tricks in film history while shooting Christine. Alexandra played Lee Cabot, the girlfriend who becomes entangled in the horror of Christine's obsession with Arnie. What John Carpenter didn't know was that Alexandra brought her secret weapon to set, a twin who looked exactly like her and could drive a manual transmission better than she could. At some point during production, Caroline and Alexandra decided to switch places without telling anyone. Caroline stepped in to film a driving scene that required skillful clutch work, pretending to be her sister, while the crew and director remained completely oblivious. The deception worked perfectly. John Carpenter directed the scene, called action, and cut, and never suspected he was filming the wrong woman. The twin swap only came to light after filming was complete. Years later, Caroline wrote about the experience and revealed that her highly skilled clutch pushing actually made it into the movie. That means audiences worldwide have been watching Caroline Paul in certain driving sequences while believing they're seeing Alexandra. The footage remains in the final theatrical release, making this one of the few documented cases where an uncredited actor successfully pranked their way into a major Hollywood production. What makes this story even better is that John Carpenter apparently took the revelation in good humor once he found out. The Paul twins managed to fool a legendary director and insert Caroline's performance into the permanent record of 80s horror cinema. Every time someone watches Christine, they're seeing evidence of this successful sister switcheroo, preserved forever on film. It's the kind of harmless, clever prank that becomes part of a movie's mythology, adding another layer of trickery to a film already obsessed with deception and hidden dangers. Fact 5. Christine's engine roar is actually a Ford. Christine's menacing engine growl is one of her most distinctive features, announcing her presence with a deep, aggressive rumble that sounds like mechanical rage. When she revs her engine or tears down the street hunting her victims, that powerful roar tells you immediately that this is no ordinary car. The sound design team did an incredible job creating Christine's voice, capturing the essence of American muscle car fury. There's just one problem. That's not what a 1958 Plymouth Fury actually sounds like. The real engines in those Furies were respectable for their time, but relatively mild compared to the later muscle car era. The 1958 Fury came with a 318 cubic inch V8 engine that produced 290 horsepower, which was impressive for the late 50s, but hardly ferocious. The sound would have been smooth and refined, fitting for a luxury sport coupe aimed at sophisticated buyers. That authentic Plymouth engine tone simply didn't convey the aggression and danger that Christine needed to project on screen. So the production team made a creative decision that car enthusiasts might consider automotive heresy. They went to the competition. The engine sounds you hear throughout the movie were actually recorded from a 1970 Mustang 428 Super Cobra jet, one of Ford's most aggressive and powerful muscle car engines from the height of the muscle car wars. This Ford engine produced significantly more power and had a much more threatening, raw sound that perfectly matched Christine's personality. This means Christine is essentially speaking with a borrowed voice, using her rival's more intimidating growl to terrorize her victims. It's the automotive equivalent of dubbing in a different actor's voice in post-production. The irony is delicious. Plymouth's deadliest car sounds like a Ford. Fact 6. Stunt driver was blind and on fire. The flaming gas station sequence in Christine stands as one of the most intense and dangerous stunts in 80s horror cinema. In the scene, Christine crashes through a gas station while completely engulfed in flames, creating a spectacular and terrifying display of automotive destruction. The footage looks incredibly dangerous because it genuinely was incredibly dangerous, pushing stunt work to its absolute limits. Stunt coordinator Terry Leonard was responsible for piloting the burning Plymouth Fury through this sequence, and the challenges he faced went far beyond what most viewers realize. Leonard wore a full Nomex firefighter suit with a breathing apparatus underneath, necessary protection when you're sitting inside a vehicle that's been deliberately set ablaze. The specialized suit protected him from the intense heat and flames surrounding him on all sides, while the breathing apparatus prevented him from inhaling deadly smoke and fumes. But here's the detail that makes this stunt even more impressive. Terry Leonard later revealed that he was actually unable to see during the stunt. The combination of flames, smoke, and the limited visibility through his protective gear meant he was essentially driving blind as the burning Christine barreled through the gas station at 70 miles per hour. Think about that for a moment. Leonard had to navigate a flaming car through a constructed gas station set at highway speeds while unable to properly see where he was going, trusting his instincts, his preparation, and his decades of stunt experience to get through the sequence without killing himself or destroying the expensive set. One wrong move could have resulted in a catastrophic crash or even more serious fire. He had to rely on muscle memory, spatial awareness, and an almost superhuman level of professional skill to pull off the stunt successfully. This was practical stunt work at its most extreme, the kind of death-defying performance that made 80s action cinema so viscerally thrilling. Fact 7. The regeneration scene was never originally planned. Some of the most iconic moments in film history happened by accident or through last-minute inspiration, and Christine's self-regeneration scenes fall squarely into this category. When John Carpenter began production on the movie, he had no intention of showing Christine physically rebuilding herself on screen. The script called for the car to be damaged and then later appear mysteriously repaired, leaving the actual restoration to the audience's imagination. It was meant to be implied rather than demonstrated, saving time and budget while maintaining the supernatural mystery. But as production progressed, Carpenter started having second thoughts. The concept of Christine regenerating herself was so central to her character and so visually compelling that it seemed like a missed opportunity not to show it happening. The problem was that creating convincing practical effects for a car reassembling itself would be extraordinarily difficult and time-consuming. Nevertheless, Carpenter decided to take the risk and approached his special effects supervisor, Roy Arbogast, with a challenge. Carpenter gave Arbogast just 3 weeks to figure out how to make a demolished car rebuild itself on camera, using only practical effects, since this was long before computer-generated imagery could handle such complex transformations. 3 weeks is an incredibly tight deadline for developing entirely new practical effects techniques, but Arbogast and his team accepted the challenge. They devised an ingenious solution using hydraulics, carefully choreographed mechanical pulls, and creative camera work to make crushed metal pop back into shape, shattered glass reassemble, and Christine transform from wreckage to pristine condition. The results became some of the most memorable and praised effects in the entire film. Watching Christine's crumpled body slowly pull itself back together, her shattered windshield reforming, and her twisted frame straightening out, created an unsettling and almost beautiful sequence that perfectly captured her supernatural resilience. What started as an unplanned addition became the visual centerpiece that defined Christine's terrifying power. Fact 8. Only 3 to 4 Christines survived filming. Making a movie about a killer car that gets repeatedly destroyed requires a small fleet of identical vehicles, and Christine's production team assembled an impressive automotive arsenal. Director John Carpenter and his crew used approximately 16 1958 Plymouth Furies throughout filming, plus additional Plymouth models from different years, all painted in Christine's signature red and modified to look identical. Each car served specific purposes. Some were dressed up as pristine hero cars for beauty shots, others were rigged for stunts, and several were designated as expendable vehicles meant to be demolished on camera. The production put these cars through absolute hell. They were deliberately crashed at high speeds into buildings, other vehicles, and various obstacles. They were crushed by bulldozers and flipped over in violent rollovers. Some were set on fire and sent careening through gas stations while engulfed in flames. The stunt coordinators smashed them, crumpled them, and destroyed them in increasingly creative and violent ways to capture Christine's rampage on film. Each spectacular destruction scene meant another Plymouth Fury met its end, and the production team methodically worked their way through the fleet as filming progressed. By the time production wrapped, the automotive body count was staggering. Out of all those Plymouths that started the production in pristine or at least functional condition, only 3 to 4 cars survived intact enough to be considered salvageable. The rest were so thoroughly demolished that they were either scrapped for parts or sent to automotive graveyards. This level of vehicular destruction was necessary to create the film's most memorable action sequences, but it came at a significant cost to automotive history. Today, those surviving screen-used Christines have become incredibly valuable collector pieces, with automotive enthusiasts and film memorabilia collectors willing to pay premium prices to own an actual movie car. The scarcity created by the production's destructive requirements has only increased their worth and mystique. Fact 9. Alexandra Paul secretly didn't eat the burger. The drive-in restaurant choking scene is one of Christine's most memorable and frightening sequences, where Lee nearly dies after Christine locks her doors and prevents anyone from helping while she chokes on food. In the scene, Alexandra Paul's character is eating a hamburger when the choking begins, and the actress appears to be genuinely consuming the meal throughout the sequence. The performance looks completely natural and convincing, with Paul taking bites and chewing like anyone would during a casual dinner date. But the entire time, Alexandra Paul was pulling off a subtle deception that had nothing to do with acting and everything to do with her personal dietary choices. Paul is a committed vegetarian and has been for most of her life, but she didn't want to cause production complications or delays by refusing to eat the hamburger the scene required. Rather than asking for a vegetarian substitute or requesting that the scene be rewritten, she decided to handle the situation herself through clever misdirection. Every time the camera showed her taking a bite of the hamburger, Paul would carefully manipulate the sandwich to push the beef patty back inside, while only nibbling at the bun. She performed this sleight of hand throughout multiple takes, never actually consuming any meat while maintaining the appearance of eating normally. The deception worked perfectly. John Carpenter never noticed, the crew never caught on, and audiences watching the film certainly had no idea they were witnessing a vegetarian actress cleverly avoiding meat while appearing to eat it. Paul's technique was so convincing that the truth only came out years later when she discussed her experiences making the film. Her misdirection required careful hand positioning and precise timing to ensure the cameras never caught her pushing the meat away. This behind-the-scenes detail adds an amusing layer to an otherwise terrifying scene, revealing that while Christine was trying to kill Lee, Alexandra was waging her own quiet battle to avoid eating beef. Fact 10. Stephen King made major errors. About his own car. Stephen King is known for his meticulous research and attention to detail, but even the master of horror makes mistakes, and Christine contains some significant automotive errors that reveal King didn't know his chosen villain quite as well as he thought. The mistakes are particularly glaring because they involve basic features of the 1958 Plymouth Fury, the car that serves as the novel's central character and title subject. These weren't subtle technical errors that only expert mechanics would notice. They were fundamental misunderstandings about what the car looked like and how it functioned. One major error involved the transmission. King described Christine as having a push-button automatic transmission, which was indeed a real feature in 1950s Chrysler products and one of the coolest design elements of that era. But in his descriptions, King also wrote about Christine having a transmission lever, which contradicted his earlier statements. The Fury either had push buttons or a lever, not both, and this inconsistency suggested King wasn't entirely clear on how the transmission system worked. Even more problematic was King's initial description of Christine as a four-door sedan in the early manuscript. This was completely impossible because the 1958 Plymouth Fury was exclusively manufactured as a two-door hardtop. There were no four-door Fury models that year. The body style simply didn't exist. Plymouth only produced the Fury as a sporty two-door to compete with other performance luxury coupes of the era. This wasn't a minor trim variation King got wrong. It was a fundamental misunderstanding of what the car actually was. When John Carpenter adapted the novel for film, his production team had to correct these errors to maintain automotive authenticity. They ensured the screen Christines were proper two-door models and handled the transmission details accurately. It's ironic that the filmmakers had to fix the author's mistakes about his own creation, but it shows that even legendary writers aren't infallible when venturing into specialized subjects like classic cars. Fact 11. John Carpenter pranked his own sound department. Film sets can be tense environments where everyone needs to maintain intense focus and professionalism. But John Carpenter is famous for keeping his productions loose and fun, often at the expense of his hard-working crew. During the filming of Christine, Carpenter developed a particularly mischievous habit that drove his sound department absolutely crazy and revealed his playful approach to directing. Rather than simply calling for quiet on set or professionally managing the technical aspects of filming, Carpenter decided to turn sound recording into his personal comedy show. On the filmmaker commentary track for Christine, Carpenter openly admitted that he would sometimes surreptitiously unplug cables in the sound department's equipment right before calling action to start filming a take. He'd casually walk by the sound cart, disconnect something crucial, then immediately move to his position and signal for filming to begin. The sound technicians would suddenly realize they weren't getting proper audio, and Carpenter would watch them panic and frantically scramble to figure out what had gone wrong with their equipment. Carpenter confessed that he absolutely loved watching the sound team freak out, trying to diagnose the mysterious technical failure while the entire production waited. The technicians would be checking connections, testing equipment, and troubleshooting problems that didn't actually exist because their director had deliberately sabotaged them as a practical joke. Meanwhile, Carpenter would maintain his innocent director demeanor, pretending to be patiently waiting for them to resolve the issue he had secretly created. This kind of prank could have created serious tension on set, but Carpenter's reputation as a fun-loving director apparently meant the crew took it in stride once they figured out what was happening. It shows a different side of the filmmaker known for his serious horror work, revealing that he treated the Christine production as much as a playground as a professional film set. Fact 12. One manual transmission. Christine went rogue. Most of the Plymouth Furies used in Christine's production were equipped with automatic transmissions, which made sense for a movie production where various drivers, stunt coordinators, and operators needed to move the cars around the set quickly and safely. Automatic transmissions are simpler to operate and reduce the chance of driver error during complex filming situations. However, production somehow ended up with one Christine that had a manual transmission, and this seemingly minor detail led to one of the production's most memorable and genuinely frightening behind-the-scenes incidents that perfectly mirrored the movie's theme of a car with a mind of its own. The problem arose when crew members approached this particular Christine to move it for a scene setup, apparently having forgotten or not knowing that this specific car had a manual transmission rather than an automatic. In their routine approach to starting and moving the vehicle, they didn't check whether the car was in gear before turning the ignition key. With a manual transmission, if the car is left in gear without the clutch depressed, starting the engine causes the vehicle to immediately lurch forward with surprising force. That's exactly what happened. The moment someone turned the key, Christine suddenly lunged forward violently, catching everyone completely off guard. The possessed Plymouth crashed into expensive filming equipment, causing damage and chaos as crew members scattered to get out of the way. The sudden aggressive movement was so unexpected and so perfectly in character for the killer car they were filming that multiple crew members started shouting, "Bad Christine," as if the car had genuinely misbehaved of its own accord, as if she deliberately waited for this moment to strike. The incident became instant production legend, both because of the genuine surprise and minor danger involved, and because it felt like Christine herself was playing into the movie's premise, proving she was dangerous even when the cameras weren't rolling. Fact 13. King chose the Fury as a forgotten car. When Stephen King sat down to write Christine, he had to make a crucial decision about which car would serve as his villain. He needed a vehicle that was distinctive enough to be memorable, but not so iconic that it already carried strong associations in readers' minds. King wanted something with character and personality that had somehow been overlooked by automotive history, a car that felt like it had been waiting to be rediscovered. After considering his options, he settled on the 1958 Plymouth Fury, and his reasoning revealed a lot about how he approached creating horror from everyday objects. King later explained that he deliberately chose the Fury because he felt it was a forgotten car. By the early 1980s, when King was writing the novel, the 1958 Plymouth Fury had fallen completely out of fashion and disappeared from the public consciousness. Automotive enthusiasts were focused on other classic cars from that era, Chevrolets, Fords, and more famous Chrysler products, while the Fury languished in obscurity. Its distinctive features that had seemed so modern and appealing in 1958 now looked dated and strange. The Fury's thin roofline, which had been considered sleek and sporty when new, now appeared awkward compared to later automotive designs. Its opulent chrome trim, once the height of luxury styling, seemed excessive and old-fashioned by 80s standards. The quad headlights that were cutting-edge technology in the late 50s had become commonplace, losing their special appeal. Everything about the car that had made it desirable in its own era had become unfashionable and forgotten 2 decades later. King recognized that this automotive obscurity made the Fury perfect for his purposes. A forgotten car could become threatening in a way that a celebrated classic never could. By choosing something that felt lost to time, King created a villain that seemed to have been overlooked and abandoned, waiting for someone to appreciate her again, even if that appreciation came with a deadly price. Fact 14. The movie used wrong. Plymouth models. Authenticity is important in filmmaking, especially when your title character is a specific year and model of automobile that car enthusiasts will scrutinize closely. But John Carpenter's production team faced a significant practical problem when it came to casting Christine. The 1958 Plymouth Fury was an extremely rare car even in the early 1980s when filming began. Only 5,303 Furies were produced that year, and decades of normal automotive attrition through accidents, rust, neglect, and scrapping meant far fewer survived to the 80s. Finding enough authentic Furies for a production that planned to destroy multiple vehicles in spectacular stunts was essentially impossible. The solution required automotive deception on a large scale. Although every Christine on screen is identified as a 1958 Plymouth Fury, the production actually used 2 different Plymouth models, the Belvedere and the Savoy, to portray Christine throughout most of the film. These models were more common and therefore easier to acquire in the quantities needed for filming. The Belvedere and Savoy shared the same basic body platform with the Fury and came from the same model year, making them visually similar enough to pass as Furies once properly modified. The production team worked extensively to transform these imposter Plymouths into convincing Fury lookalikes. They painted them all in Christine's distinctive red, added the correct chrome trim pieces, and modified various details to match the Fury's more upscale appearance. For most viewers, the deception was completely undetectable. Only serious Plymouth enthusiasts who knew the subtle differences between these models, specific trim details, badging, and interior features, could potentially spot the substitutes on screen. This means that most of the Christines you see being destroyed, chasing victims, or regenerating in the film aren't actually 1958 Furies at all. They're automotive stand-ins, carefully disguised to play the role convincingly enough to fool audiences for over 40 years. Fact 15. One survivor car is built from 20-plus Christines. The fate of most Christine cars after filming was grim. They were crushed, scrapped, or abandoned in automotive graveyards, their purpose served and their value seemingly exhausted. But one passionate fan and automotive restorer named Martin Sanchez saw something worth saving in these demolished movie props and embarked on an ambitious rescue mission that resulted in one of the most unique Christine survivors in existence. Sanchez managed to save one of the stunt cars from being permanently destroyed and then went far beyond a simple restoration, creating something altogether more interesting and thematically appropriate. Rather than just fixing up the single car he'd saved, Sanchez tracked down parts and pieces from many of the other Christines used in production. He scavenged components from vehicles that had been partially destroyed, collected trim pieces and body panels from multiple sources, and gathered bits and pieces from over 20 different screen-used Christines. Then, in a process that took considerable time, skill, and dedication, he assembled all these disparate pieces into one complete, functional Christine, carefully restoring each component back to its original movie appearance. The result is something truly remarkable, a Christine literally built from the remains of her screen siblings, a Frankenstein car assembled from dozens of destroyed vehicles. This survivor carries components from multiple cars that appeared in different scenes, creating a single Christine that represents the entire production's automotive legacy. Parts that were crushed in one scene, burned in another, and crashed in a third all came together in Sanchez's restoration. The thematic appropriateness of this restoration approach is perfect for Christine. In the movie, she constantly rebuilds herself from destruction, pulling her broken pieces back together through supernatural power. Sanchez essentially did the same thing, but manually and with genuine dedication instead of demonic possession. His Frankenstein Christine stands as a testament to both the movie's legacy and the enduring appeal of this killer car that refuses to stay dead. Refuses to stay dead. Refuses to stay dead. Refuses to stay dead.